Council SRC, as well as pupils and teachers from the Horde All Christian School in Lusaka District, and on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, Madam Speaker did warmly welcome the visitors to the National Assembly of Zambia.
Madam Speaker also acquainted the House with the presence in the Speaker's gallery of the church mother bodies and staff from the Office of the Vice President, National Guidance and Religious Affairs Department. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, received and warmly welcomed the distinguished guests to the Zambian Parliament.
The third announcement that Madam Speaker made yesterday was to inform the House that the National Assembly of Zambia had come up with 3 annual awards, all for recognizing well-deserving members of Parliament. She stated that the awards were aimed at recognizing honorable members who performed exceptionally well in their constituencies, in the House and in the nation at large.
And the awards fell under 3 categories, namely the Robson Naviato Award for the overall Best Member of Parliament of the Year, the Wesley Nyirenda Award for the Outstanding Youth Member of Parliament of the Year.
The third award is the Nelly Muti Award for the Outstanding Woman Member of Parliament of the Year. And Madam Speaker said that the award was in recognition of the current Speaker of the National Assembly of Zambia, the Right Honourable Nelly B. Muti.
Madam Speaker informed the House that the nomination forms would be distributed to all honourable members in the House for them to nominate only 1 member in each category. And she stated that completed forms should be submitted to the Principal Clerk, Research by Friday, 28th July 2023. Madam Speaker informed the House that the successful nominees will be presented with awards at a ceremony to be held on Thursday, 14th September 2023 during the commemoration of the International Day of Democracy.
After those 3 announcements, Madam Speaker, the House did proceed to consider questions for oral answer. The first question was Understanding Order 76, and the other question, that question numbers 417 to 418, Understanding Order 74.
Peter Uke, Member of Parliament, Mr. E.J. Banda did move a motion that the House urges the government to reintroduce the Ministry of National Guidance and Religious Affairs, and this motion was negatived.
There was a consideration of the Parliamentary Select Committee, the motion that urges the House to adopt a report of the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to consider the petition by Mr. Andrew Sindazi on the absence of Mr. Nixon Chilangwa, MP of Kawambwa constituency, from the sittings of the Assembly for the second session of the 12th National Assembly. This document was laid on the table of the House on the 24th of July 2023, and it was Mr. Chavinga, the chairperson of this Parliamentary Select Committee, who was supposed to move this motion, and the chairperson of the committee, standing in his place, sought leave of the House to defer the consideration of the report to a later stage.
Thereafter, we did see Member of Parliament Mr. Joratila move a motion that the House to adopt the report of the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to consider the 2022 Annual Progress Report on the implementation of the 8th National Development Plan for the period 2022 to 2026 for the second session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 19th July 2023.
2 bills were considered at third stage, and this is the Human Rights Commission Bill, National Assembly Bill number 8 of 2023, and the Zambia Institute of Valuation Surveyors Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2023, and they all passed the third reading stage.
We did have resumption of debate on a motion that was moved by Mr. Kambita, chairperson of the parastatal bodies, that the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Parastatal Bodies on the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of parastatal bodies and other statutory institutions financial year ended 31st December 2021 for the second session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 21st July 2023.
The House did adjourn at 19:07 hours. So that's the business that was considered on the floor of the House yesterday. Let's quickly look at what is expected to be considered on the floor of the House. We do have 3 motions. Claudette.
Absolutely. One of them is coming from the acting leader of a government business, urging that the House, that the Standing Order 27 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021, be suspended to enable the House to complete all business on the order paper for Friday, 28th July 2023, and that all matters arising therefrom, and that on such completion, the House to adjourn sine die.
And we do have two questions for oral answer that are coming up, and we do have two more motions that will be considered on the floor of the House. We now cross over to the floor of the House for the commencement of today's business. Keep watching Parliament Television.
Honorable members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
Yeah.
Tendency of Zambia, proud and free, land of wealth and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for the right. We want freedom's fight, oh, one, strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, fashioned with and blessed by those who blend. Let us, all her people, join as one, brothers under the sun. Oh, one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace in Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free. Praise be to God, praise be, bless our great Zambia, Zambia, remain we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Honorable members, I have two announcements to make and two rulings. The first announcement is that, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of another group of students and representatives from the University of Zambia Students' Union, Yunzansu. Students Representative Council, SRC, as well as pupils and teachers from the Hold All Christian School in Lusaka district. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, and indeed on my own behalf, I warmly welcome you in our midst. Thank you very much. You may take your seats. Honorable members, the second announcement is that in October 2022, I informed the House that the donation of books by Children International Zambia and honorable members were requested to collect their shares for constituency office libraries. It has been brought to my attention that some honorable members have to date not yet collected the books from the National Assembly Library. I therefore urge all honorable members who have not yet collected to do so. I thank you. Now we go to the rulings. The first ruling is on a point of order raised on Friday, 7th July 2023 by Mr. M. Mutelo, Member of Parliament for Mitete Constituency, against Mr. M. Kafwaya, Member of Parliament for Lunte Constituency, on whether he was in order to state that the Minister of Finance and National Planning had violated the Constitution by not producing a financial report as required by law, when the previous government had equally not submitted the said report since the enactment of the Constitution in 2016. Honorable members, the House will recall that on Friday, 7th July 2023, when the House was considering question for oral answer number 339, and the Honorable E. Muchima MP, Acting Minister of Energy, was about to respond to a supplementary question, Mr. M. Mutelo, Member of Parliament for Mitete Constituency, raised a point of order. The point of order was against Mr. M. Kafwaya, Member of Parliament for Lunte Constituency. In his point of order, Mr. M. Mutelo, MP, cited Standing Order 65 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021, which provides for the content of speech during debate. In his point of order, Mr. Mutelo, MP, stated that in the 5 years that the Patriotic Front Party had been in power since the amendment of the Constitution in 2016, he had never seen the Minister of Finance lay the financial report on the table of the House. He therefore inquired whether Mr. M. Kafwaya, MP, was in order to state that the Honorable Minister of Finance had abrogated the Constitution by not producing a financial report as required by the law. Honorable members, in her immediate response, the Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker reserved her ruling. I have studied the matter and will now render my ruling. Honorable members, in studying this matter, I had recourse to the verbatim record of the proceedings of Friday, 7th July 2023. I note that this point of order stems from a matter of urgent public importance raised by Mr. M. Kafwaya, MP. In raising the matter of Mr. Kafwaya, MP, asked whether the Honorable Minister was in order to circumvent constitutional provisions by neglecting to lay the 2022 financial report of the Republic and the Auditor General's opinion by 30th June 2023. Honorable members, the Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker dismissed the question for failing to meet the admissibility criteria for a matter of urgent public importance. She, however, guided Mr. M. Kafwaya to file in an urgent address in the House. Matter point of order. Therefore, raising a point of order on a matter on which Madam First Deputy Speaker had already guided amounted to a challenge on a decision of a presiding officer. In view of the foregoing, the point of order is inadmissible. I thank you. The second ruling is on a point of order raised on 6th July 2023 by Mr. R.K. Chitotera, Member of Parliament for Pambashe Constituency, against Mr. M. Anakoka, Member of Parliament for Luena Constituency, for allegedly misleading the House by stating that the National Prosecution Authority Act number 34 of 2010 was enacted pursuant to the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Act number 2 of 2016. Honorable members, the House will recall that on Friday, 6th July 2023, when the House was considering the National Prosecution Authority Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2023, and Mr. M. Anakoka, Member of Parliament for Luena Constituency, was on the floor. Mr. R.K. Chitotera, Member of Parliament for Pambashe Constituency, raised a point of order. The point of order was raised based on Standing Order 65-1B of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021, which requires a member debating to ensure that the information he or she provides to the House is factual and verifiable. In his point of order, Mr. R.K. Chitotera, MP, inquired whether Mr. M. Anakoka, MP, was in order to mislead the House by stating that the National Pension Authority Act number 34 of 2010 was enacted pursuant to the Constitution of Zambia Act number 2 of 2016. In his immediate response, the Honorable Mr. Second Deputy Speaker reserved his ruling in order to enable him comprehensively study the matter. I have since studied the matter and I will now render my ruling. The point of order raises the issue of a member's duty to ensure that the information he or she provides to the House when debating is factual and verifiable, a requirement which I have no doubt is well known to all the members by now. Standing Order 65-1B of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021, to be specific, provides as follows, and I quote, 65-1, a member who is debating shall, B, ensure that the information he or she provides to the House is factual and verifiable, end of quote. Honorable members, in investigating the matter, I had recourse to the relevant verbatim record of the proceedings of Thursday, 6th July 2023. The record confirms that Mr. M. Anakoka, MP, informed the House that the National Prosecution Authority Act number 34 of 2010 was passed in order to give effect to what is contained in Article 180 of the Constitution, which establishes the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. It appears that Mr. R.K. Chitotera, MP's contention is that it was misleading for Mr. Anakoka, MP, to state that the NPA Act, which was enacted in 2010, was made pursuant to Article 180 of the Constitution, when Article 180 was only introduced by the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Act number 2 of 2016. Honorable members, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions has indeed been embedded in the Constitution since 1991, when the current Constitution was enacted. Following its enactment in 1991, the Constitution was amended in 1996, 2009, and substantially in 2016. It, however, remains the Constitution of Zambia, Chapter 1 of the Laws of Zambia. Prior to the 2016 amendment, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions was established under Article 56. Therefore, when the NPA Act was passed in 2010, it was based on Article 56, which, following the 2016 amendment to the Constitution, is now Article 180. Therefore, I find that Mr. M. Anakoka, MP, was not out of order in stating that the in stating that the National Prosecution Act was made pursuant to Article 180 because that is the current constitutional provision that deals with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. I thank you. Matters of urgent public importance. Honorable Member for Chinsali, what is your matter of urgent public importance?
Madam Speaker, I rise on a matter of urgent public importance on the Minister of Tourism. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, yesterday we had a situation where an elephant that has invaded the border of Chinsali and Isoka killed one child from one family. And what has happened is that that elephant is just moving up and about in the area, and as a result, people are living in fear. I seek your guidance, Madam Speaker, as to what the Minister of Tourism is going to do to help ensure that Zawa deals with that elephant. Either they kill it or they take it back to where it's supposed to be, that is in the game park. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member for Chinsali, that issue of animal-human conflict, I think it was last week or the week before. It's just last week when we had the ministerial statement from the Honorable Minister of Tourism, who came here in relation to a matter of urgent public importance that was raised in relation to the elephants that were found in Sioma. We have been discussing this matter of urgent public importance. People have been losing their lives, but we still have not found a solution to this matter. So, Honorable Member, instead of the Honorable Minister to come here and render a ministerial statement, first of all, because it's it's an isolated, it's one place. Of course, it's unfortunate that a life has been lost, and we offer sincere condolences to the family of the deceased child that was killed in the process. But I think we need to do more than just a ministerial statement, and I think my office is processing something that is going to try to attempt to deal with this matter as a house, and when that is done, it will be announced. So, Honorable Member for Chinsali, just hold your fire, so that when we look at this matter, we look at it from a conclusive point of view. The Honorable Member for Chama South.
Madam Speaker, listening to your guidance, it was actually a similar issue as we speak. A woman is battling for her life in Chinsali General Hospital from a buffalo attack right in the village. So, since you have just issued that guidance, I think I'll wait to hear from what you are doing, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The House will be informed in due course what measures we want to take. So we make progress. Notes of motion, the acting leader of government business.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the standing orders 27 of the National Assembly of Zambia, standing orders 2021, be suspended to enable the House to complete all business on the order paper and all matters arising therefrom, and that on such completion, the House do adjourn sine die.
The question is that Standing Orders 27 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021 be suspended to enable the House to complete all business on the order paper for Friday, 28th July 2023, and all matters arising therefrom, and that on such completion, the House do adjourn sine die. Any debate? The acting leader of government business.
Madam Speaker, Standing Order 27 of National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders of 2021, provides for the procedure for automatic adjournment in order to ensure that all business on the order paper for Friday, 28th of July 2023 is completed before the House adjourns sine die. It's important to suspend this standing order. Madam Speaker, this meeting commenced on Tuesday, 6th of June 2023, and as of today, Thursday, 27th July 2023, the House has sat for a total of 30 days and considered 156 questions. The House has also adopted 28 reports of standing and select committees, further 19 ministerial statements explaining the government's position on various national issues have been rendered. In addition, 21 annual reports from government, ministries, and quasi-government institutions have been laid on the table. Furthermore, the House has passed 4 bills and considered 4 private members' motions. The volume of business transacted in this short time is a clear indication of the dedication and hard work by the honorable members throughout the meeting. May I therefore take this opportunity to thank the members individually and severally for a job well done. Madam Speaker, it is time to take a break and attend to other responsibilities we have as members of Parliament. In this regard, I'm referring to work in the constituencies. As we adjourn, I wish to implore all honorable members to go back to their constituencies and inspect the various constituency development funds, CDF projects, so that together we can develop the entire country. Madam Speaker, allow me to thank you most sincerely for the impartial manner with which you and the Deputy Speakers have handled the business of the House throughout this meeting. Let me also take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to the Acting Clerk of the National Assembly and his staff for the services they continue to render to the House. In the same vein, I wish to extend my appreciation to the officers in the Parliamentary Business Division in the Office of the Vice President, as well as all officers from government ministries and departments who equally played a pivotal role in making this meeting a success. Madam Speaker, this is a procedural motion, and I urge all honorable members to support it. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much, honorable members. This is a procedural motion. I know there's an indication that honorable members want to debate. I'll only take one member because we have other business that we have to attend to. The honorable member for Shwangando.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for permitting me to make a few comments on a procedural motion moved by the acting leader of government business to suspend Standing Order 27. Indeed, Madam Speaker, this is a non-controversial motion, and it requires the support of all honorable members. Madam Speaker, through you, I and my colleagues would like to just press our concerns on record that this is the third consecutive Friday of adjournment that we shall be going without interacting with our honor, the Vice President, the substantive leader of government business. Indeed, it's the last Friday where we need to engage our honor on various issues. That's not to say the acting leader of government business is not equal to the tax. How we wish, Madam Speaker, as we are looking at the standing orders, we can revise some of these things so that we can interact with government at that apex on serious matters of development. Madam Speaker, I want to agree with the leader of government business that it's time for your honorable members to go back to the constituencies and interact with their people and also inspect the various projects that are going on in the constituencies. And to this note, I would like to just urge the Honorable Minister of Local Government, who made very clear pronouncements yesterday, and we must commend him for that, because our people were wondering when certain pronouncements were made by people that are not, have got no authority, that CDF was going to be increased to 57 million. Indeed, that correction you made has settled people's anxieties. And this is also to say that those who are not mandated to perform government functions must leave these functions to the designated officials, in this case, honorable ministers, because the funds that we're dealing with when it comes to CDF are coming, these are funds being drawn from the consolidated fund of the Treasury. So we expect that only those that are authorized through the pieces of legislation and guidelines are given space to work. And that goes, Madam Speaker, to appeal that as the honorable members go to inspect various projects, they are coded the environment which is required. There is no need for competing, and we appreciate you, Honorable Minister, for making that clarion call on those that are trying to be overzealous when it comes to monitoring the projects of CDF. And we would like you to further, like your colleague did, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, who promised that he was going to put it in writing to allow members ensure that the distribution of inputs this time around is done properly by his officers under the Ministry of Agriculture, so that all our poor farmers benefit from the project, from the program of FISIP. So I would like you, Honorable Minister of Local Government, to put your pronouncements of yesterday into some form of write-up so that we have it clear without any doubt that when we get into the constituencies, there will be no challenges. And on this score, Honorable Minister of Local Government, we would like to assure you that if you go with a human face in dealing with these people that have been trading on the streets, we shall be with you. Because indeed, our people are not on the streets by desire. It's a hunger that takes them there. By wanting to put food on the table for themselves and their children, they end up in those undesirable places where the facilities are not available. So our call is that let's have a human face and let's try to make sure that we provide...
The Honorable Member for Shuangandu, there is a point of order from the Honorable Minister of...
On a procedural, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Shuangandu, the only problem that I see is that now it has become you are opening up a lot of issues, you are debating on a lot of issues where the other side will not have the time to respond. So since it's a matter that only deals with the suspending of standing orders, I think let's stick to the motion to avoid unnecessary debate to and forth and accusing each other and what have you. The time for debate will come when we discuss substantive motions. Honorable Member for Shuangandu, can you wind up? Or the Honorable Minister wanted, the Honorable Minister for Local Government.
Madam, thank you for aligning or realigning the Honorable Member of Parliament for Shuangandu to remind him that we have a motion that is on the floor. However, my substantive point of order really was in his gesture of pointing a finger at me while his other hand is in the pocket. We are told, Madam Speaker, that when you are addressing adults, elders, you must avoid putting your hands in your pocket and let alone pointing a finger at them. Is it therefore in order to be pointing a finger at me, at his elder, while his other hand is in the pocket? I seek your ruling, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yesterday, I remember referring to or advising a member not to put their hands in the pocket, but I didn't see the Honorable Member for Shuangandu. I wonder what he was playing with in his pocket. That was on a lighter note. But also in terms of pointing, honorable members, let's desist from pointing at each other. But some honorable members have a tendency to point, so sometimes we can bear with each other. So may the honorable member for Shuangandu conclude.
Madam Speaker, before I was disturbed by my honorable elder brother, I was almost winding up, except I'm just pointing to the issues that are going to confront us when we go to see our people. They will be asking for solutions, and therefore, collectively, we need to respond to their concerns. And it's on that score, Madam Speaker, where I was just talking on the topical issue that the Honorable Minister has been asking us to work with him. But we are saying, yes, in as much as we would want to work with him, we are aware that our people are searching for food. And especially now that the prices of food, especially minimum, are escalating.
Honorable Member, wind up. Please do not extend the debate to other issues. Stick to the motion.
Madam Speaker, I finally want to just urge the leader of government business, acting leader of government business, that ensure that as your members go to interact with their people in their constituencies, like I stated, they are given the environment for them to perform their duties. And that those who want to encroach by masquerading as also inspectors of projects are also told to leave.
Honorable Member, I think I've guided. Please wind up. We have a lot of work.
I also want, Madam Speaker, to just assure you that as we are going, you may be having one member short, that we are praying for this honorable member, and that through prayers, he will be available with us in the next session to serve the people that have elected him to represent them. Madam Speaker, with these few remarks, I support the motion.
Thank you very much. The acting leader of government business, winding up debate.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, Honorable Member and Whip of the Opposition Patriotic Front, for supporting the motion. And I would like to assure you that probably in the next session, Her Honor, the Vice President and leader of business in the House will probably be available on the Fridays. I know Fridays, when I was in opposition, those were the best days for me to be in Parliament because I could stand up and ask any question I wanted. And I'm sure that's the same feeling you have. We'll try and ensure that she's available at that time, except you should also understand that she has other urgent government business to attend to, and so occasionally you will not be able to have that privilege to ask those questions. I also would like to assure the honorable members on both sides that the enabling environment that you are talking about to enable the members of parliament free access to their constituencies will be there. We have demonstrated that as soon as we came into office. Freedom has become basically granted. It's granted. There's no hassle about that. So you will be free as I just forgotten the English word, but you'll be free to move as you like. Although it was in jest between you and the Minister of Local Government, I think it's important to put on record that this government definitely has a human face. And we shall interact with the street vendors as much as we can, provide them with spaces that they need. Yes, they need to make money and provide food on the table, and this government is there to assist and facilitate in their objective. And so, allow me, Madam Speaker, to take this time to thank everybody and wish everybody good luck as they proceed to their constituencies. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
I put the question. The question is that Standing Order 27 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021, I put the question. The question is that Standing Orders 27 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021, be suspended to enable the House to complete all business on the order paper for Friday, 28 July 2023, and all matters arising therefrom, and that on such completion, the House do adjourn sine die. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. I have permitted the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning to make a ministerial statement. The Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, let me begin by thanking you for giving me this opportunity to update the House and indeed the general public on the supervisory action of the Bank of Zambia by taking possession of the Development Bank of Zambia, DBZ, and Better Now Finance Company Limited. Pursuant to Section 64 of the Banking and Financial Services Act of 2017 as amended, the Bank of Zambia on Friday, 21st July 2023, took possession of two non-deposit-taking financial institutions, namely Development Bank of Zambia and Better Now Finance Company Limited. Taking possession of the two institutions essentially means that the shareholder rights and the management control of the institutions are immediately terminated, as the Bank of Zambia is vested with full and exclusive powers of management and control of the institutions. Section 71 of the Banking and Financial Services Act of 2017 gives powers to the Bank of Zambia to, among others, dissolve the Board of Financial Institutions. The Development Bank of Zambia has for a protracted period been capital deficient, while Better Now Finance Company Limited is insolvent. Therefore, the Bank of Zambia took the supervisory action in order to safeguard the interests of the public and protect the integrity of the financial system. Madam Speaker, with respect to the Development Bank of Zambia, allow me to provide the House with a brief background of the Development Bank of Zambia, DBZ, and its performance. DBZ is a development finance institution established in 1974 by the government of the Republic of Zambia under the DBZ Act No. 35 of 1972, with a mandate to provide long, medium, and short-term finance and equity investment for economic development. This is a key function for a long-term economic development which the DBZ has failed to effectively provide. DBZ is owned by a number of shareholders who include Government of the Republic of Zambia with a majority shareholding of 96.46%, and quasi-government institutions such as NAPSA, ZANACO, and Zambia State Insurance Corporation, who collectively own 0.7%. Other shareholders include the Exim Bank of India, the Development Bank of South Africa, and European Investment Bank. Madam Speaker, the DBZ has for a protracted period of time not been in a position to fund undertakings in line with this mandate. Weak capital position and poor governance track record, exemplified by significant loan exposure to prominently influential persons, which were non-performing, was at the heart of this state of affairs. This was despite having recapitalized DBZ 19 times since its inception, amounting to 533 million kwacha. In addition to this, there have been extensive engagement by the Bank of Zambia with all shareholders and the imposition of supervisory directives for management consistent with the Banking and Financial Services Act of 2017. In terms of financial performance, let me now turn to the performance of the DBZ. The House may wish to know that as at 31st May 2023, DBZ had a regulatory capital of 19.4 million, representing a deficit of 730.6 million in relation to the minimum regulatory capital requirements of 750 million kwacha. This is a clear indication of a significantly weak capital position. The asset quality was also found to be very unsatisfactory on account of non-performing loans ratio of 98.8%, way above the maximum prudential non-performing loans ratio of 10%. The poor asset quality has largely been due to material weaknesses in the underwriting and management of the loan portfolio. As a result, DBZ was not generating sufficient income to cover operating costs due to the impaired loan portfolio. This, in turn, translated in the institution not having adequate liquidity to sustain its operations. At the time of the supervisory action, DBZ had neither been undertaking lending activities for 3 years nor delivering on its mandate. Rationale for supervisory action: in view of the poor performance of the bank and to safeguard the integrity of the financial system, the Bank of Zambia had to take supervisory action pursuant to Section 64 of the Banking and Financial Services Act of 2017. The Banking and Financial Services Act requires the Bank of Zambia to take supervisory action on a financial service provider that is significantly undercapitalized. Such supervisory action includes taking possession of the said financial service provider. Notwithstanding the Zambian government recognizes the essential role that the development finance plays in economic development. Therefore, the government, through the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, and supported by the Bank of Zambia, will put in place measures to establish a new development finance institution. This is in line with the government's aspiration to establish an apex institution that will contribute to Zambia's economic development in line with the National Development Agenda. The establishment of the new development financial institution will arise from the envisaged restructuring of the DBZ under possession of the Bank of Zambia. As a result of the lessons learned in the case of DBZ, the new development financing institution will operate under a different institutional and governance framework as well as strategy. The new development financial institution will be incorporated under the Companies Act. This will facilitate the inclusion of private equity and ensure the adherence to principles of good corporate governance. In addition to this, a component of the capital will be extended through commercial banks and other financial institutions in order to reduce the risk of non-performing loans. Further, the new institution will operate under a new regulatory environment as Bank of Zambia will review the regulatory framework within which the institution will operate. Let me also make a few remarks on Better Now Finance Company Limited. Allow me to also share the background to the supervisory action on Better Now Finance Company Limited. Better Now Finance Company Limited is a privately owned limited company registered in Zambia and was licensed as a non-deposit-taking microfinancial institution by Bank of Zambia in 2013. Better Now Finance Company Limited was set up to provide financial solutions to individuals and micro, small, and medium enterprises in the form of short-term loans, invoice discounting, and working capital finance. In terms of the financial performance, Bank of Zambia determined that Better Now Finance Company Limited was insolvent and therefore in breach of the Banking and Financial Services Act of 2017. Supervisory action by Bank of Zambia to take possession of Better Now Finance was in line with the provision of the law and mandate of the Bank of Zambia. In terms of the way forward, as per established procedures and in accordance with the Banking and Financial Services Act of 2017, immediately following the board resolution to take possession of the two institutions, Bank of Zambia appointed 2 members of its staff to take over as possession managers, each to manage one of the 2 institutions. During the period of possession, the possession managers will, among other things, be responsible for loan recoveries and settlement of liabilities and deal with staff matters in line with the Employment Act of 2019. In addition, the possession managers will engage creditors of the institutions to facilitate resolution of the outstanding obligations. Most importantly, the possession managers have a period of 90 days within which to prepare a statement of affairs of assets and liabilities of the 2 institutions. The statement of affairs will determine further actions that the Bank of Zambia may take as provided for under the law. Allow me to conclude by stating that Bank of Zambia has a mandate to promote the stability of the financial system in Zambia. In the exercise of this mandate, the bank is guided by the laws and the regulations established. The action to take possession of the 2 should allow for, in the case of the DBZ, allow for a new development financial institution to emerge, and that will be placed to support government efforts to grow the economy in an inclusive and sustainable manner. With respect to Better Now Finance Company Limited, the action taken is meant to safeguard the interests of all creditors and allow for orderly exit of the institution in the event that no viable option is found during the possession period. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members are now free to ask questions on points of clarification on the ministerial statement given by the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning. The Honorable Member for Momba.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for according me the opportunity to ask the Minister of Finance a question. Honorable Minister, you have indicated that, if I got you right, that most of the borrowers under DBZ were or are the prominently influential persons. Ordinarily, Honorable Minister, these are people whose personal asset base is very solid. My question is as to whether these prominent influential persons, when they were obtaining these loans, they had any collateral to safeguard the interests of the bank. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Chancellor. Indeed, an institution like the DBZ, when it was giving out these loans, it is expected that adequate security would have been provided for in exchange with the money. As to the appropriateness and adequacy of the security provided, I am unable to tell, but the managers, the possession manager that has been put in place, as they do their report, they'll be able to tell us which loan is adequately catered for in terms of security, which one is not, and of course, that will be part of the report that will indicate the financial status of the bank and the way forward. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Honorable Minister, I appreciate that DBZ has had deficiencies in their operations and in their management of the affairs of the company, and that is the reason why Bank of Zambia decided to take possession of the institution so that it can stabilize things. Now, my question, Honorable Minister, is on Bank of Zambia, because the reason why DBZ has been taken possession of by Bank of Zambia is for it to go to an institution which has integrity, where we expect some of those deficiencies that the institution was having, where they will not be. The integrity of Bank of Zambia has been diminishing. Look at the recent hacking of their Facebook page, clearly indicating that they do not have experts that can prevent those cyber attacks. So what measures is Bank of Zambia putting in place to restore the integrity of the central bank? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'm not sure whether it is reasonable to question the integrity of the central bank out of one incident. It's like making a comment about a football team, that because one player at one moment committed a foul, therefore the team is bad. No. You have to evaluate. You have to evaluate the institution, not on the basis of one incident, but in the context of the overall. And in that respect, I have no doubt that the integrity of the Bank of Zambia is solid. You can see this, for example, inflation rate, which used to be more than 20%, it has been brought down to about 10%. That's a central bank with integrity to do that. The exchange rate, you remember in the last few years, how it was losing value from 5 to something like that, 20s. Now there's relative stability. I'm not saying that is fixed. I'm saying there's relative stability. That, again, is a sign of an institution that has integrity. The Bank of Zambia in taking possession does not mean that now it's the Bank of Zambia that is going to be in charge of management until now, until infinity. It is just a temporal measure. It is just a temporal measure taken to see how the bank can be, DBZ can be reorganized. And for that role, I think they are very well suited, and the integrity is there. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Nkana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister of Finance, you have mentioned in your statement that the non-performing loans stands at 98%. Just how much are we talking about in regards to these loans that remains unpaid, and what steps are being taken to recover these loans? I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Indeed, in my statement, I said that more than 98% of the loans are not being serviced. Madam Speaker, that is an astonishing number for a bank, because a bank can only continue to exist if, of course, it gives out loans, but the loans must come back. When the loans come back, two things will happen. Firstly, if the loans get paid back, the interest charges on those loans, those are the ones that sustain the cost of the bank in terms of paying salaries, paying rent, and general administration. It comes from the interest. So it means that if 98.8% of the loans are not being serviced, it means that interest income will always be far inadequate in terms of paying salaries, running costs, and so forth. Far inadequate. Beyond that, if 98% of the loans are not being paid back, it means that the bank would not be in a position to have new money or revolving money that can lend to the next person. So in essence, therefore, the bank was crippled because people were not paying back. As to the quantum amount of the monies, I'm sorry I don't have that figure with me here. But it's obvious that if 98% of those who borrowed are not paying back, this is no longer a banking operation. It's no longer a banking operation. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honourable Member for Zambezi East.
Madam Speaker, I thank you. Honourable Minister of Finance and National Planning, my committee, the Committee on Procedural Bodies, have had an interaction with the said bank, the Development Bank of Zambia. And what has been prominent in our engagement with that bank is those non-performing loans. But a close look at the non-performing loans revealed that most of the people that got loans were backed by politicians or powerful people, as you have rightly put it. However, the bank was at fault in disbursing the loans partly instead of disbursing the loans in full. And most of those developers who got part payment of the loans, even when they had a full project proposal, could not complete the projects. So how are you going to deal?
Question. Time is ticking, Honourable Member for Zambezi. Your opening remarks are too many. What's the precise question?
I'm well guided, Madam Speaker. I'm sure the Minister got my preamble. There are developers who are sitting there as non-performing loans who got only part of what they needed in order to develop a full project. What are we going to do with such a situation? Because it's not their fault that they could not do business, because they were just given part of what they needed. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. If that was indeed the case, and I'm saying if, then obviously it is unfortunate, and matters of that nature will have to be determined in appropriate circumstances by appropriate bodies. I cannot state here and say what is going to happen. I'm sure the position managers will also be looking to see exactly what happened, whether it is the bank that failed to deliver all the cash or all the money that was required under the project as agreed, or whether indeed, in some cases, some of the borrowers said, I need so much from you as DBZ. I know I need other money, but don't worry about that. This other money, I've got a plan on how I'm going to raise it. So all those possibilities exist, and the possession managers will have to decide what to do. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving us a chance to ask a follow-up question. Honourable Minister, usually takeovers have diverse effects, especially on the workers. I want to find out what is the fate of the DBZ workers and better now.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Madam Speaker, when an institution is limping, and an appropriate authority takes over, the law stipulates exactly what happens to the employees. And indeed, all the other parties that have a relationship with the bank. So the law stipulates and gives powers to the person in possession to decide on how best to move forward. So I cannot give you a direct answer because it will depend on the findings of the person who takes over and how they decide to move forward from there. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Shuangando.
Most appreciated, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, for the record, the Honorable MP for Zambezi East is our chairperson for the Committee on Parastatus, and the issues he raised regarding developers getting partial funding is ably catered for in your report, which was adopted yesterday, and the Minister would do well to get into that report because all that information is in that report we adopted yesterday under the Committee on Parastatus. My substantive question, Madam Speaker, to the Honourable Minister is the option they've taken. Because listening to him, is saying that Development Bank of Zambia will be no more, and that in its place, the government is considering establishing a new institution. Honourable Minister, DBZ is a well-established institution with capable human resource. Wasn't it going to be desirable to restructure this institution and recapitalize it and change the framework instead of establishing a totally new institution which might be quite costly to the state? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honorable MP is suggesting that DBZ should remain the way it is with its employees who he says are capable. First of all, I'm not sure about when he says capable people, because here is a bank where 98% of the loans given out are non-performing. How did that happen if there were people who were capable there? How did that happen? Because the other banks, as I said in the statement, the non-performing loans will be less than 10%. But here is 98%. So where were these capable people who should have prevented such a situation from happening? Secondly, Madam Speaker, let me say that and I said this in the statement, the bank has been recapitalized 19 times since 1974. 19 times. Honestly, that suggests that after 19 times of recapitalization and the bank still getting in trouble, it means that it will be folly to keep on doing the same thing and expect a different result. So 19 times of recapitalization is already too much. It's time now to look at other models, and this is what is being proposed now. I'm sure you would agree with me that after 19 times of recapitalization, it's time to look at other models of running the bank. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Sikongo.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Minister, you spoke of the establishment of a new bank to take over from the defacant Development Bank of Zambia. My question is, the new bank that will be established, would it take over the liabilities of the Development Bank of Zambia? I thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member for Congo, you were also putting your hand in your pocket. The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
I thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank my brother there for that question. Madam Speaker, if we create a new bank that takes over the liabilities of DBZ, it means that from day one, that new bank will be in problems because it will have to start paying loans or paying debts when there is no income being generated. So that is not advisable. The reason for restructuring is one of the reasons for restructuring is to remove the burden of the liabilities so that you set up something that is properly capitalized, that has new management, new culture, new governance, especially given the fact that, as we have heard, most of the people who have not been paying their loans to DPZ are people who are politically connected. What does that suggest? There must have been political force on the management to say, give this one a loan, give this one a loan, give this one a loan, give this one a loan. And these people being politically connected, they do not feel that they need to pay back the loan because they are politically connected and the bank belongs to government. So going forward, we have to deal with this issue of ownership of the bank because if it continues to be politically government-owned, then obviously the political pressure on the management will continue, and under those circumstances, it's most likely going to be the case that the new bank will go down again. So going forward, our expectation is that the new bank would be less exposed to political leaders by allowing the private sector to take a center stage in the governance of the bank. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we can't take any more. We have run out of time. Apologies to those members who indicated and wanted to ask questions. But we have to make progress. We still have 2 more motions. Question. Oh, point of order. Honorable Member for Shuangand, what's the point of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my point of order is pursuant to Standing Order 65, 1A and B, that the matters we debate here must be factual and verifiable. In the response to the Honorable MP who posed the last follow-up question, the Honorable Minister indicated to the August House that they were political forces that were directing who to be given a loan. Madam Speaker, we are aware that the current board chairperson of DBZ is a losing candidate to one of us here as a politician who lost an election in 2021. If the Honorable Minister is insinuating that the directives were coming from politicians, would he be able, Madam Speaker, to verify that information, whether it's the current board chairperson, a losing candidate in some constituency in Eastern Province, called Rwangeni, or indeed he's got other people that, so that the House has got the correct record? Is it in order, Madam Speaker, to mislead us like that?
Oh, the Honorable Member for Shuangand, you are just asking for further information that cannot be raised as a point of order. In any event, I don't know if you yourself have information to contradict what the Honorable Minister said, which you can lay on the table. In the event that you don't have that information at the moment, you can still write a letter and attach that information so that we get to the root of this matter. Otherwise, as the matter stands now, the Honorable Minister was not out of order, unless proved otherwise. Can we make progress? Question for oral answer under Standing Order 74, the Honorable Member for Mufumbwe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The good people of Mufumbwe would like to ask question number 419.
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Under question number 419, the Honorable Member from Fumbwe is asking the Minister of Water Development and Sanitation the following question. How many boreholes were earmarked to be sunk in Mfumbwe district in 2022? And B, whether government has any plans to abstract water from the Kabompo River in order to improve water supply in Mfumbwe district? And C, if so, when the plans will be implemented? Madam Speaker, our response is as follows. Under A, a total of 46 boreholes were earmarked to be sunk in Mfumbwe district under 2022. And B, yes, government has plans to tap water from the Kabompo River in order to improve the water supply situation in Mfumbwe district. And C, the plans will be implemented subject to the completion of feasibility studies scheduled for this year, 2023. The feasibility studies will establish the suitability and cost of constructing a water treatment plant in Mfumbwe parliamentary constituency. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions, the Honorable Member for Mfumbwe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I'd like to thank the Honorable Minister for the answer that he has given to the people of Mfumbwe. Before maybe I go any further, I would like to appreciate your ministry, which seems to be doing very well. However, you may be aware that in Mfumbwe, the boreholes that were sunk, some of them were sunk a long time ago. And we normally have a problem actually during dry season. So how soon, don't you have any other measures, or are you considering the same boreholes to be put in Mfumbwe Boma, or how long are we going to wait?
The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I also want to thank the Member of Parliament from Mfumbwe for that follow-up question. Yes, Madam Speaker, like I've said, we had provided for 46 boreholes to be drilled in Mfumbwe district, and we are counting on that number of boreholes to be drilled and completed. We hope that before the end of November, the contract for the drillers is running for 1 year up to November, and we hope that the said boreholes will have been drilled by then and will assist to improve the water supply situation in Mfumbwe. But that is not the only intervention, Madam Speaker. As indicated in my response under B, we still have plans, long-term plans, Madam Speaker, to also look at the possibility of abstracting water from Kabompo River, which is around 12 kilometers from the CBD of Mfumbwe. And I must mention, Madam Speaker, that I hold the people of Mfumbwe very dearly, because soon after I was appointed in this position, it's one area which I visited first to go and check the water challenges there, and also to complete the projects that had stalled for some time. So in there, we have an opportunity, once we undertake the feasibility studies, to ensure that hopefully in the long term we can abstract water from Kabompo River, and obviously this will improve the water supply for that area. And also we can use that opportunity to also save various institutions around there other than the CBD. I note that there are some learning institutions, which, if this project is undertaken and completed, will benefit from that supply. And these are schools like Kalende Bible School, Kalende Secondary School, and Mfumbwe schools. I hope that once we undertake and finish the feasibility studies and undertake this project, these institutions too can benefit from the water supply. So indeed, we have various interventions that we are looking at. And just for the record, again, Madam Speaker, the MP from Fumbwe may wish to know that you did announce our intentions to collect information from various members of parliament on their top five top priorities, so that they can tell us the stressed areas, water stressed areas in their various constituencies. So I'm expecting a submission from the MP to tell us the needs, the water supply needs in Mfumbwe, so that we can also add them to our plans for 2024. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member from Mfumbwe, you have another question?
Yes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I can't stop actually thanking the Honourable Minister for his good works and the UPND New Dawn administration. Indeed, actually, that project, if it is completed, I think it is going to solve the problem, and it will be one of its kind. I take into account one of the projects which is in Impika, which has been completed as a government assurance. That is how it's supposed to be. And my question is, are you also not trying to work with the Ministry of Local Government? Because all these members of parliament here, most of them, this time around, they are drilling boreholes using CDF. However, we've been disappointed by some drillers. When you give them access to the works, they don't do them very well. And you have got those government drilling machines in all the provincial headquarters. Don't you think it is high time that you collaborated with the ministry so that we can do a good job and save our people?
The Honourable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, I want to thank the Member of Parliament from Fumbwe for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, let me start with the question on the drilling machines and also the question that why can't you work, or are you working with Ministry of Local Government? I want to confirm that my ministry, Madam Speaker, has drilling rigs in each province. So basically we have about 10 drilling rigs. So each province has one. It's safe to say that these are machines that were bought some time back, and they have obviously seen their days. So they are not really functioning at their optimum, capacity. But we have, as a ministry, our own drilling rigs, and this is why, because of the challenges in terms of the old age of the machines, we have opted to be outsourcing the services by contracting the private sector to assist us to drill the many boreholes that we need in the various constituencies. I want to take advantage of this question, Madam Speaker, to just appeal and urge the drillers out there who are represented by the Drilling Association of Zambia that we must ensure that we deliver quality works, because if the MPs, the people's representatives, keep on complaining that they are disappointed with the works that are happening out there, then it doesn't sit very well with my ministry and indeed with the government, because when we pay for these works, what we expect is that the drillers, first of all, must do this work within the agreed time, but they must also ensure that they do the works within the prescribed scope of works. So my appeal to the Drillers Association of Zambia and the drillers in particular is that we must ensure that we do quality works there so that we can improve the lives of our people in terms of accessing water. So I want to assure the MP and through him to the members of parliament that my ministry will ensure that we follow very closely all the contracts that we have signed and the works that are being done in the various districts. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next question, the Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 420.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Madam Speaker, before I go into the answer given by the Honorable Member of Parliament, colleague from Chinsali, allow me to pronounce myself to my deep appreciation to the kind comments from the whip, from the PF, and also the leader of opposition from PF, who I saw on television, basically offering support to the move of relocating our people to designated trading places. And I also want to say, I do take heed to their advice. I do take heed to the advice that we must do everything within our means to find alternative places for our people to trade in. My commitment is that we shall do as expected. Madam, Mr. Mukosa is asking the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development at A, which roads are earmarked for rehabilitation under the World Bank funded Improved Rural Connectivity Project in Chinsali Parliamentary Constituency? And at B, what the status of the project in the constituency was as of September 2022. Madam, in response to the question, I wish to inform Mr. Mukosa and this Assembly that the roads which are earmarked for the rehabilitation under the World Bank funded Improved Rural Roads Connectivity Project in Chinsali constituency are as follows. 1. Choshi Cheswa Chipale Road with 53.2 kilometers earmarked for rehabilitation. 2. Nkweto Shimwalule Malata Chembe Road with 26.2 kilometers earmarked for rehabilitation. At B, Madam Speaker, the status of this project in the said parliamentary constituency as of September 2022 was that the contractor was establishing a site and had also commenced on setting out the works. Madam Speaker, I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions, the Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I would like, first of all, thank you for the responses. I would like to keep you abreast, and I think maybe you are aware that the contractor is actually on site now, and you left one road, which is Lubwa to Muika Road. Now, the contractor has gone on site and he has started working on the Lubwa to Muika Road, and we have 2 bridges which have been washed away since the last rain season. These 2 washed away bridges are along 2 of the roads that are supposed to be worked on by this contractor. Last time here when I asked the question to the Vice President, she assured this House and the people of Chinsali that immediately the rain season ends, the contractor is going to quickly work on those 2 bridges so that the people can be crossing. But up to date, the contractor has done nothing to restore connectivity of these 2 to restore the connectivity of the people that use these 2 bridges. Is there anything that your ministry can do in collaboration with the Ministry of Infrastructure to help in talking to the contractor so that as he is waiting to do the works, he can at least work on these 2 bridges, which is Chivesa Bridge and Misonta Bridge? Chivesa is in Lubwa Ward, in Chivesa Village, and Misonta is in Chambesh Ward, at Chungulo area. in Chungulo village. Is it possible that the contractor can be talked to so that he can work on these bridges as we are waiting for him to do the other substantive works on the roads that have been identified? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament, for the display of how well you know your constituency. M&N Industrial Merchants are the contractors who are on that particular site, and I tender my apologies for missing out this one road that you mentioned. Let me just tell you that these works are being done under the RDA, which is in my sister ministry, the Ministry of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development. And therefore, I've taken note of the sentiments about those two crossing points, and just to assure you that we will do everything possible to normalize the situation for our people to continue being mobile on these connectivity roads. I also would like to encourage you to visit our offices. I can assure you that office visits normally yield much more than the display here in Parliament, where you ask, we answer. And sometimes the way we work ourselves is that, and you can ask your colleagues who frequent my office, is that we are hands-on. When we identify a problem, we try to pulverize it until it becomes powder, and we put it away and tick it off and say, this one is done. So I assure you that with your constant reminder, we will work on this by talking to the contractors to give priority to those two crossing points.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Chinsali. Do you have another question? Honorable Member for Shuangandu will be the last.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Indeed, Shuangandu is the new district born of Chinsali, and some of these stretches are cut across, like the one he was talking about, Luwa, Mwika, Ilondola. It's cut for both. And then there's Chachacha Road on one hand. My question, Honorable Minister, is to just find out whether these contracts are on schedule, and if indeed the funds are flowing, the funds are available, since it's a World Bank supported project. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you once again, Madam, and thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament for Shuangandu. I can confirm to you that funds are available from the World Bank, and I will endeavor to consult with our sister ministry what the challenge truly may be, but I can confirm to you that funds are there.
Thank you. Notes of motion, the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply to consider supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2023. Madam, I'm a bearer of a message from His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia recommending favorable consideration of the motion and now lay on the table.
The question is that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply to consider supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2023. Any debate? The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Madam Speaker, in accordance with Article 203 of the Constitution, the Minister responsible for finance shall, where the amount appropriated in an appropriation act is insufficient to meet expenditure in that financial year, lay before the National Assembly for approval a supplementary estimate of expenditures. Madam, by virtue of the authority conveyed in the article of the Constitution quoted above, I now present the supplementary estimate of expenditure number 1 of 2023. The total supplementary budget stands at 11.5 billion kwacha. Allow me, Madam Speaker, to bring out the notable proposed expenditure allocations contained in this supplementary estimate of expenditure. Madam Speaker, out of the recommended 11.5 billion kwacha, 22% or 2.6 billion will be dedicated to the Ministry of Health to facilitate the procurement of drugs and medical supplies. Madam Speaker, 1.7 billion kwacha has been allocated to the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services as support to the social cash transfer and girls' education and women empowerment livelihood Gearwell project. Further, 12% or 1.4 billion has been allocated to the Ministry of Education as support from the World Bank towards the Zambia Education Enhancement Project, whose intent is to render support in the construction of high schools across a number of districts. In order to complete various projects, 12% or 1.4 billion has been set aside under Hedge 21, loans and investment. Of this amount, 600 million kwacha has been set aside for the rehabilitation and maintenance of road infrastructure that is in dire need or remedial works. In addition, 550 million kwacha has been set aside as contractor financing for projects such as Kafulafuta Water, Jalala Barracks, Kenneth Kaunda International Airport, Nkana Water and Sewerage, and communication towers. You may wish to note that within loans and investment, a 90 million has been earmarked to settle payments to contractors and consultants that were engaged under the Millennium Challenge account. In order to improve the operations of security wings, 8% or 929 million is targeted to the Ministry of Defense for the clearance and transportation of military equipment, infrastructure development, recruitment and training, and the procurement of aircraft spares and maintenance services. Under the Ministry of Technology and Science, 543 million has been earmarked for the Zambia Information and Communication Technology Authority, ZICTA, for the upgrade of radio spectrum management and monitoring system and the procurement of cybersecurity tools. Furthermore, the Ministry of Agriculture will receive 500 million kwacha to facilitate the purchase of strategic grain reserves aimed to ensure the nation's food security. Madam Speaker, to accommodate these and other supplementary estimates which I haven't read out, approximately 3.2 billion is coming in as support from donor community, such as the World Bank and the African Development Bank, to name but a few. Further, 4.2 billion of these supplementary estimates are carryover funds or unspent balances from the 2022 financial year, while 3.7 billion is additional revenue in form of dividends. Lastly, 385 million kwacha will be realized from intra-budget variations. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much. Any further debate? Honorable members, I've seen the indications so many members would want to debate, but let's remember that members will still have an opportunity to debate when the House resolves into Committee of Supply. So I'll call a few members and then we wind up this motion. I'll start with the Honorable Member for Lunte.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much for causing me an opportunity to make a contribution on the motion of supply. Honourable Minister, I take note that you are a bearer of a message from His Excellency the President, who urges a favourable consideration. Honourable Minister, I've got two concerns that I would like you to deliver to His Excellency the President. First, that the executive is not the only arm of government. We have the legislature as well as the judiciary. And both the legislature and judiciary require sufficient funds to be able to run their operations. In the next session, you will be back asking the Assembly to consider the 2024 budget. Your Assembly will require sufficient funds. Madam Speaker, the supplementary budget that the Honourable Minister has brought is lower than the amount he brought last year. I think he has divided by two. Last year he brought 22 billion. This year he has brought 11 billion, which is just about 50%. But the problem I have with this supplementary budget today is that it has a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. And because these are figures, these are numbers which do not lie, it is very difficult for me to be able to support this particular motion, even though the President has urged favourable consideration. Madam Speaker, I intend to speak very briefly on only two heads. I want to take the Honourable Minister to Head 2. Head 2 is the Vice President's office. And on Head 2, the Minister is asking for 60 million and 2 million over there. Honourable Minister, as a way of helping you, when you go to the Yellow Book for this particular year, you discover that parliamentary business, you allocated 4.5 billion, but the figure you are telling us that there is the one you allocated is 3.5. That is a false figure. I have the Yellow Book. I can be able to assist you. But you want to supplement it with 2 million, fair enough. You want to supplement the 93.2 billion with a 60, or million with a 60 million, fair enough. But 60 million for what, Honourable Minister? Parliamentary business. If these amounts are working properly, Honourable Minister, parliamentary business from the executive must flow properly. You cannot expect bills such as the NPA bill, rejected by all stakeholders, to be supported by the Zambian people, but yet it goes through in the manner it did. These are the things we need to start thinking about. Remember, Honourable Minister, the Securities Exchange Bill, which you yourself presented to this Assembly, rejected by by all stakeholders, but it went through. So I am urging you, Honorable Minister, when you request for money, this money must be able to work for the Zambian people, and it should be seen that actually what the executive is doing is supported by the Zambian people. The other head that I would like to consider is head 7, the Office of the Auditor General. Honorable Minister, head 7, 6001, Public Debt and Investment Audit. You are telling us that you had allocated 783,000. No, that is not the figure you allocated. You actually allocated 7.8 billion. That is the amount which is in the yellow book. So if you want this supplementary to go through, so be it. But it contains serious fundamental errors. And for me, I would request that you consider redoing this supplementary budget because it has extremely bad figures in there. But 7.8 billion is a figure we should be talking about, and you want to supplement it by 4.3 billion. Fair enough. But what is the quality of public audits? I was looking at the 2022 audit report, which you submitted to this assembly. For a little while, I thought you had not submitted. But the Auditor General could not even pick that you, on your revenue side, you didn't add the 22 billion, which was duly approved by this assembly. So your revenue remained the original figure of 172 billion, and on your expenditure side, you only added the 2 billion to make it 175. So you cannot be able to say this is the Auditor General you want to supplement with all this money, who can't even see simple figures. This supplementary budget you have brought of 11 billion, we will change both your revenue and your expenditure. It's my expectation that when Auditor General is looking at your revenue, he must be able to consider the 11 billion kwacha that may go through if you decide that this supplementary will go through with the mistakes it has. Consider, Honorable Minister, the illegal audits. The illegal audits which were contracted in the Ministry of Finance. And then you want to supplement the Auditor General with this money. What is the point? If the Ministry of Finance can do audits on its own by contracting illegal auditors, can't you just say that this public audit is irrelevant and therefore doesn't need money? Give this money to the National Assembly to help you pass the budget for 2024. Honorable Minister, I think that the Auditor General should show that he deserves this money, should show that he is competent, should show that he is going to help the Zambian people by doing work that is going to be beneficial, as the Assembly has been doing. Right now, we will show that we are useful. Right in September, the Assembly will show you that it's useful. And this is the Assembly, when you look at the money you are providing to it, it's near nothing. It is unfair. You need to reconsider your position. Madam Speaker, I wish to appreciate the time.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, I'm grateful for the opportunity to make a few comments, and I'm happy that you've given us a few minutes, Madam Speaker, to comment on the proposed estimates. The Minister of Finance has come to this August House asking for our authority today to proceed with approving a supplementary budget. Madam Speaker, I've got two concerns which I hope that the Minister of Finance will take note of. My first observation, Honorable Minister of Finance, through Madam Speaker, I was trying to calculate the numbers, how this 11.5 billion is going to be financed. Madam Speaker, my calculations are showing that 23% of the budget will be financed by the World Bank. I've looked at how many lines require World Bank support. There are 4 lines, Madam Speaker. On page 5, we are going to get 81 million kwacha for research. That is on page 15. On page 19, Madam Speaker, under the Ministry of Finance, on page 19, we are going to get 8.5 million kwacha from the World Bank. On page 22, for social cash transfer, Madam Speaker, we are going to get 1.5 billion kwacha from the World Bank. On page 33, Madam Speaker, for infrastructure under Ministry of Education, we are going to get 1.1 billion kwacha from the World Bank. Madam Speaker, when you add these figures as a proportion of the total budget, 23.5% of our budget, which the Minister is asking us to approve today, is coming from the World Bank. Now, Madam Speaker, here is my concern. Any gift that comes to the Republic of Zambia from these partners, for many years, we've always appreciated. But the concern, Madam Speaker, is that for how long are we going to finance our agenda for development through partners? For how long, Madam Speaker, are we going to wait for a World Bank-funded project to support activities that require us to undertake development for ourselves as a country? When the Minister of Finance read out his first national budget, an incentive was given to our mining companies. We lost colossal sums of money, Madam Speaker, in excess of 4.3 billion kwacha by making mineral royalty tax deductible. And Madam Speaker, sitting here today, confirming that we are begging for 2.5 billion from the World Bank. Yes, it's a good thing that these activities will be financed. But, Madam Speaker, a country that aspires to start dealing with its own problems must start asking itself, are we going to continue asking for money from cooperating partners, Madam Speaker, when we can actually raise some of this money locally? We lose 4.3 billion on the understanding that this money will come back in other forms, that suddenly and we'll be able to recover through taxes. That is the anticipation. Madam Speaker, here we are today. 2.5 billion kwacha, a very small amount of money. Did not even need World Bank support. All we needed to do was to say, we have these taxes, mining companies owe us this much, can you give us our money? We finance our budget, and we're able to place on record having financed our own agenda. Madam Speaker, I share this view because I'm looking at the future of our country. Yes, it's good to get financial support, whether it's KfW, the German bank, whether it's the World Bank supporting our projects, but at some point, Madam Speaker, we must start raising our own money. And the point I'm raising, Madam Speaker, is that when we give incentives to mining companies, someone should hold them accountable. That we've given you incentives, we are foregoing 4.3 billion kwacha. Can you show the benefits to the country? Because if the country is able to benefit, Madam Speaker, then we'll be able to raise our own money. The point I'm raising, Madam Speaker, is that collectively we must start asking ourselves, when do we start raising our own money? At some point it must happen. At some point, Madam Speaker, it must happen. That point must be clarified. And I hope that the Minister of Finance, whose desire is to see mining grow, hence the incentives, must also bear in mind that someone must hold these mining companies to account. We give you these incentives, you must be able to show that this is the money that is coming out of mining, and this is how ZRA is going to benefit. In the absence, Madam Speaker, of this balancing act, because it's not the first time we're giving incentives to our mining investors, these incentives will continue. But the point, Madam Speaker, is that at what stage do we hold the mining companies accountable for revenue that is supposed to go into ZRA, so that Minister of Finance, when he comes to Parliament, is able to tell us we need 11.5 billion, and this 11.5 billion, we have not asked for anyone to give us this money. What we've simply done is we've gone to ZRA, and ZRA has given us the money. So, Madam Speaker, it's a challenge to the Minister of Finance as we support your request for this supplementary budget. I want to put it on record, Madam Speaker, that I want this country to begin at some point to be able to raise its resources locally, so that when we say we want to do a school, it is indeed us who have said and not someone who has dictated to us. Madam Speaker, my submission on behalf of the people of Kamfinsa constituency. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kankoyo.
I thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Since we are going to debate this head by head, I'll wait for that time. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Chinsai, you've been anxious. Can we be the last one, please, if you can do it in a...
I will be very short,
Thank
Madam
you.
Speaker.
Proceed.
Thank you so much. I need your protection, Madam Speaker.
Please let him debate. Allow the honorable member to debate.
Thank you.
At least I can see him from here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Order. Honorable member for Shuangan, do you like points of order? What's the point of order?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Is the Honorable Minister of Sport, who we are waiting for to come and inform us why our young ladies are being battered in that fashion, in order to disturb the Honorable MP for Chinsari Central, who is just about to discharge his legislative functions, Madam Speaker, is in order. We are waiting for him, Madam Speaker, to come to this August House to tell us what is happening in Australia or Swaziland. I seek your serious guidance, Madam.
I'm sure the Honorable Minister will come at an appropriate time to brief the House. But looking at the three of you, you are more or less the same height. May the Honorable Member for Chinsari continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll go straight to the point. Honorable Minister, I have perused through these supplementary estimates of expenditure for 2023, and one issue that I've noted is the underallocation that has been put to the oversight function. I hope, as you were preparing these estimates, you took into account the new proposed modus operandi. When we come back, the new standing orders that we are proposing, suggesting that we'll be sitting in a different way. So hope the allocations that you have put in here not going to cripple the operations of the oversight function. Second issue, Madam Speaker, that I would like to talk about is that, Honorable Minister, this document that I'm holding right here has serious anomalies. I have tried to check on a lot of amounts that have been put under budget allocation, which we expect to find also in this yellow book, which I have with me. I have with me here. There is a lot of discrepancies. I would like to give you an example of one. For example, if you go to page 1 of this document, you check under State House, which is head 1, program 3425, Presidential Advisory Services, where you are proposing that we put a supplementary amount of 500,000 kwacha for communication and media advisory services. When you look at the amount that we allocated in this yellow book, you will see that the amount that we allocated was 16,975,247, and not this 4,483,185, which has been indicated in this supplementary estimate. This is a serious anomaly, Madam Speaker. And if you want to find that information from the yellow book, it's on page 3 of the yellow book for 2023. The second issue, Madam Speaker, is on foreign affairs. Foreign affairs, which is head 17, and it is on page 9 of this supplementary estimate. When you look at what this document is saying, it is suggested that we allocated 15,000 kwacha, which is not true. The amount that we allocated was 7,836,336. That is the correct amount that we allocated as per the yellow book, which is here on page 197. That is the amount that we allocated. Because how can you explain that we allocated 15,000 kwacha and we are proposing a supplementary budget of 20 million from 15,000 kwacha? There is no, it doesn't, I don't know the right word to use, but it doesn't add up. It doesn't make a lot of reasonableness. So, you need to revisit this, Honorable Minister. Your technocrats, I understand there are issues in your ministry. Your ministry is crippled because of what has been happening, chasing of stuff and whatnot, but they need to revisit this so that they bring to us a proper document. Because when we approve some of these things, people out there who will be reading this document will be thinking that we were not going through this document properly. They will think that we were not doing our work properly, Honorable Minister. If I take you, Honorable Minister, to CDF, which is head 29, you will see that on head 29, let me just look for the head so that I can. Yeah, on head 29, Madam Speaker, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. This is page 14 of this document. Honorable Minister, you came here in the House and you told us that the allocation for CDF for this year, it was 28 million. 28 million for each constituency. 28 million multiplied by 156 constituencies, it is going to give you 4.4 billion kwacha. And that amount is indicated here in the yellow book. The amount, to be specific and exact, is 4,416,968,713. That is the amount that we allocated. Okay? That is for CDF. And here, your document, Honorable Minister, it is saying we allocated 2,662,126,256. Where are these anomalies coming from? Madam Speaker, it's only that I don't have much time. They are plenty, the whole entire document, full of mistakes. What were they doing? Honorable Minister, what were your people doing? These are serious anomalies. And now you are asking that we give you 298 million kwacha, 249,818 for CDF. For what? Because that amount, we already have 28 million. We already said it's 28 million per constituency. So you want us to give you 298 million for what? And you have not even bought a vehicle for Chinsai. You have not bought a vehicle for Chinsai. We allowed you to spend 28 million per constituency. You failed to buy a vehicle for Chinsari and you come back here, you are saying we give you more. Yeah? With a lot of mistakes in this document. Madam Speaker, I think I have put up my point. Next time, Honorable Minister, when you are bringing a document to this House, make sure the people do the right thing so that we should not be dealing with a document which has a lot of mistakes. But we will support you, since we don't want to cripple the operations of the government. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning, winding up debate. Honorable Member for Chilubi, please let's allow the process. You know that the time is also ticking. As you make your point of order, we'll lose a few minutes. So can we allow the Honorable Minister to wind up? The other debate will come later.
Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you for this opportunity, and I want to thank the colleagues that have debated. And for their support. Madam Speaker, let me say this. First of all, there are no mistakes as people are alleging. I think you have to be able to read the yellow book. So, colleagues, those of you who are saying there are mistakes, can we meet during the break and demonstrate to you that you're actually mistaken in making those. We'll meet with you at break and demonstrate that you have not read the yellow book properly. Madam Speaker, the next issue is the colleague who just spoke was wondering why is it that we are supplementing CDF. Now, recall, you did not exhaust the CDF of 2022. You did not exhaust it. And we said at the time, rather than withdrawing this from you, we'll carry it forward. We carry it forward. So, since that money is coming from 2022, it has to reflect in 2023. So there is no strange thing about this. This is just a carryover, Honorable. And I hope you are not saying that you don't want it because it's a carryover. But if you don't want it, we can give it to Parliament. Your CDF for Chinsali. Madam Speaker, there was a lot said about the fact that this money that we are looking for under supplementary could easily have been found from the mining sector. Let me first of all explain the sources of this funding, the 11.5 billion. In my statement, I said part of it is coming from carryovers, as I explained, like the CDF. Part of it is coming from the fact that there were some financing agreements that were signed last year, but for which the funding did not reflect last year. So agreement signed last year, but the funding is coming this year. A good example of that is the money for the construction of high schools. The construction of high schools. This money is coming from the World Bank, and because it was not spent last year, it's a carryover, and this year now, it is reflecting. Third, there's been also a component coming from extra revenues, 3 billion. So this is the source of the funding. Now, are you saying that a combination of the carryovers from last year, a combination of the carryover of the loan signed last year, all this money could have been collected from our mining sector this year? It's not possible. Okay? It's not possible. In any case, I think we have to move forward from the thinking that the ways PF, for example, your government, the way we are taxing the mining sector, it was a sustainable way of building revenues. Remember, the tax rates were very high under the PF government. On top of that, the VAT refunds which were supposed to refund to the mining sector and other companies, that VAT refunds, they were not being paid to the companies which were supposed to receive those VAT refunds. So, in a sense, therefore, it was overtaxing. Genuine taxes plus taxes that you were refusing to hand back because VAT refund is a VAT refund. Did that improve the economy? It didn't. It didn't. In the meantime, I repeat, 2011, Congo DRC was only producing 400,000 tons of copper. 400,000. Zambia was producing 800,000. Zambia was producing twice what Congo was producing. Over the 10 years, because of this carelessness in taxation, the Congo, the country that was producing only 400,000 tons, today they are producing more than 2 million tons. How much is Zambia producing? Stuck, same amount. In fact, yes, it's going down.
May the Honorable Minister conclude. Time we have run.
Madam Speaker, I thank you for your guidance. All I can say is that, as I conclude, the measures taking place are to grow the economy so that indeed the revenues will be higher in a proper manner and not in the manner that you used to do it. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Order, order. I put the question. The question is that the House do now resolve into Committee of Supply to consider supplementary estimates of expenditure number 1 of 2023. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. I think the ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. The House will now resolve into Committee of Supply.
As the time is 16:40 hours, I suspend business for a health break for 20 minutes. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. The House has taken a break. The business resumed at 17 hours, and the House had just resolved into Committee of Supply. We did see the Minister of Finance, Honorable Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane, move a motion that the House to now resolve into Committee of Supply to consider supplementary estimates number 1 of 2023. We did see quite a number of members of Parliament actually adding their voice to this particular motion, and the Minister of Finance did seek clarity where some members of Parliament did have doubts.
When business resumed at 14:30, Madam Speaker did make 2 announcements and 2 rulings, and the first ruling that Madam Speaker made was on a point of order raised on 6th July 2023 by Mr. R.K.H. Totela, Member of Parliament for Pambashe Constituency, against Mr. M. Anakoka, Member of Parliament for Luena Constituency, for allegedly misleading the House by stating by stating that the National Prosecution Authority Act number 34 of 2010 was enacted in pursuant to the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Act number 2 of 2016.
Madam Speaker did render another ruling on a point of order raised on Friday, 7th July 2023 by Mr. M. Mtelo, Member of Parliament for Mitete Constituency, against Mr. M. Kafwaya, Member of Parliament for Lunte Constituency, on whether he was in order to state that the Minister of Finance and National Planning had violated the Constitution by not producing a financial report as required by law when the previous government had equally not submitted the said report since the enactment of the Constitution in 2016.
We'll be able to share with you the details of those two rulings at the end of today's business. And after those two rulings, Madam Speaker did permit the Minister of Finance and National Planning to render a ministerial statement, and this ministerial statement was on the supervisory action of the Development Bank of Zambia and Better Now Financial Company Limited by the Bank of Zambia. So for now, we'll take a short break and we'll be able to share with you the details of this ministerial statement as well. Keep watching Parliament Television.
In ensuring effective utilization of constituency offices by the public, the National Assembly of Zambia, through its constituency offices, undertakes various awareness-raising activities which include school debates. This is in line with the 2015 to 2019 National Assembly Strategic Plan, which focuses on enhancing the representative function of Parliament. The parliamentary debate concept, which was pioneered in 2017 in Luanshya, has come to light this year, 2023, in being the first to host the inter-schools parliamentary debates. The debate competition, which commenced on 16th June 2023, featured 11 secondary schools across Luanshya, which saw 8 schools proceed to the quarter-finals that were held on 19th July 2023 at Luanshya Boys Secondary School. After the 8 schools battled it out in their debates, 4 schools qualified for the semi-finals that were held on 21st July 2023 at the Technical and Vocational Teachers College, TVTC. The 4 schools included Luanshya Boys, River Cross, Luanshya Central and Kafubu Secondary Schools. Luanshya Boys and River Cross Secondary Schools debated the motion some government policies seem not to be taking effect in the communities. Members of Parliament should be given more powers to implement programs to achieve government goals.
As a girl child, I stand firm and propose or say yes to the motion stated as some government policies seem not to be taking effect in community problems. Members of Parliament should be given more power to execute government programs and goals. I say yes due to few but convincing reasons. Government transparency. This refers to hold public officials accountable for their operation. Transparency ensures accountability, openness, and communication between the public and government.
Honorable members, I think we are clear with the motion. Hence, from this motion, we are seeing that there are 2 aspects, honorable members. Number 1, they are talking about implementation, which is the sole responsibility of the executive body, the arm of government. Implementation of these laws is not the duty of a member of Parliament. A member of Parliament is part of the legislative body in government, which are in charge and are responsible for making of laws.
Point of difference. Members of the House. We have many members of Parliament.
Just give it to me.
Also, minister. I'll take an example of Sylvia Matete. She's an MP, but she's also.
From here,
In as much as the qualification is a great source.
assembled intellectuals, the current speaker is trying to mislead the House. Assembled intellectuals, based on facts and not fictions. Zambia is a democratic republic, and one of the key aspects of democracy is that it separates the separation
is respect the separation of power. By giving members of parliament more power to implement government policies, then the democracy of the country will be greatly disrupted as members of parliament engage into the executive duties or to include the duties of the executive, not for House of Intellectuals. To ensure that we resolve the democracy of the country, it is important that members of parliament are not given power to implement policies, as this will only disrupt the peace and the democracy of the country. To the judges for further analysis.
Whereas Luanshya Central and Kafubu secondary schools debated the motion, Parliament should compel government to provide incentives to ward development committees.
The Ward Development Committee ensure effectiveness, coordination, constituency and community development. Yesterday at my school, we received the chairperson of the Ward Development Committee who came to sensitize, who came to look at what we are lacking, who came to look at what the teachers are lacking. They came to do their job, but they are not getting paid. How is this helping them to support their families? How is this helping them to take care of their families and responsibilities?
The first point to consider is the economic burden that this law might impose on the government. As we are all aware, our country has been grappling with economic challenges, with national debt standing at alarming levels. Enacting such a law could potentially further strain our national budget, leaving less room for important sectors such as health, education, and infrastructure development.
At the end of the semi-knockout finals, Luanshya Boys and Luanshya Central Secondary Schools emerged as winners of the semi-finals. Speaking on behalf of Luanshya Constituency Member of Parliament, Mr. Lusale Simbau, at the official opening of the final debates, Luanshya District Commissioner Mr. Wansmo Ngonomo expressed happiness that Madam Speaker had approved the initiative of debates to begin from Luanshya.
It is encouraging that Madam Speaker has been kind enough to recognize Luanshya, among other districts, to pilot this important national project. Democracy is very important among us. We need to know that the Republic of Zambia is among countries that are practicing representative democracy. We have elected representatives who represent us in the National Assembly because we can't all stand in Parliament to speak for ourselves. It is for this reason that we need to nurture our young people. The importance of democracy. The need for democracy cannot be overemphasized. Democracy is our moral obligation as a people, and it is therefore our duty as leaders to the young people.
And speaking at the same event, National Assembly of Zambia Acting Principal Clerk, Public and International Relations, Mr. Anthony Mpolokoso, acknowledged the role that teachers play in educating the learners.
That the teachers have worked very hard to sensitize the learners about what Parliament is all about, and the role of the National Assembly, the role of MPs, the role of the constituency officers, and we are here to join you to enhance that knowledge and that participation. And one of the reasons why we also came is to establish what are being called the Parliament clubs. And the idea of these Parliament clubs is to increase awareness among the youth, and also to increase the level of youth participation in decision-making. And it is planned that the top-performing students in these clubs will come to Lusaka for an annual National Youth Parliament. So we encourage all the learners to continue being enthusiastic about your debates as you carry them out locally here.
In a tightly contested debate between Luanshya Boys and Luanshya Central Secondary Schools debating the motion in 2015, world leaders agreed among themselves on how to end extreme poverty, protect the planet, and ensure prosperity for everyone by 2030. members of parliament have done nothing to actualize the SDGs.
According to analysis published by the United Nations, gender gap has been caused by 61.8%, and moving at its current gender equality will only be fully attained as of 2155. Therefore, if a goal that was set to be attained in 2030 will only be attained in 2155, it only shows that members of parliament have done absolutely nothing to achieve sustainable development goals.
Sustainable development goals. Development that needs of the present without affecting the needs of the future generation. Members of auditorium, affiliates of the chamber, as the first speaker, the icebreaker, it would be really unwise for me to leave the podium without saying 1 or 2 points. As I go on to my first point, good quality education. Members of auditorium, how are the members of parliament sustaining development in good quality education? Members of auditorium, His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema enforced free education. Members of auditorium, before free education was enforced, not every parent was managing to take their children into school. But now, since free education was enforced in Zambia, pupils are now managing to go to schools. Members of auditorium, and re-entry police. Re-entry police was introduced in 1997. Members of auditorium, it gives chance to a girl child to go back to school. Members of auditorium, it also gives chance to young mothers to go back to school.
Affiliates of the chamber, these MPs were supposed to make policies that will involve the management of such funds, and if we can that members of parliament were able to misuse these funds, affiliates of the chamber, how can we say that poverty is supposed to be ended? Affiliates of the chamber, if poverty is supposed to be ended by mismanagement of funds, then we are really lying to ourselves, because it can only end if the management of funds, if there is equal distribution of funds in the constituencies and among people. May Good Samaritan please give this or pass this on to the judges, that the levels of hunger and poverty had increased due to such acts.
I definitely disagree in capsulators due to the following points. Development goals that we have in our country, which have been established by the National Assembly, one to mention a few: clean water and sanitation. The vision is looking at the period by 2030, each ward, each constituency, each community, each district, the provinces and the country at large, that they may have clean and drinking water so that it is free from contamination. We all know that a healthy country is a productive and successful country. Let me give a practical example. Recently, our honorable member of parliament established boreholes for the people in Walale. Rural electrification. In the rural areas, members of the parliament, many years in the rural areas, members of the...
Luansha boys proposing to the motion emerged winners walking away with a trophy and 1,000 kwacha.
The winners of the debate with 674 points, they are none other than Luansha boys.
In second place was Luansha Central Secondary School, and in third place was Kafubu Secondary School. Some learners who participated in the debates were glad that they had an opportunity to debate motions that exposed them to learning more about Parliament.
It's been a really wonderful experience for me. I think it has been very educative and very informative, and most of all, what I would like to say to other debaters out there is, or other people who think of joining, is that failure is not the end. I come from experiences where I've lost, where I failed, but I kept pushing, I kept trying. One day it is possible. So what I can say is failure is not the end. Keep trying, put in your best, you'll be rewarded. That's what I can say.
This is a wonderful experience. Being here, it's a pleasure. This inspiration comes from my brother and my mother, who encouraged me every day. I used to practice each and every day that one day I'm hoping, because failure doesn't come there, but failure comes when you stop. But as for me, I never stop, and I'm here. This same goes to you. You can do it. The only thing you need is determination and be disciplined. Hard work will pay off one day.
This program, it has given us, I would say, a page to start from, and to the fellow debaters, it doesn't end here. We'll still keep on practicing. Of course, definitely, even next year, the program will come back. So for those who want to start debating, you're free to join.
My experience was very fantastic. I enjoyed the entire debate, and reaching at the crescendo of all these
mesmerizing event. I'm so happy that I was part of it. And for my advice to many people out there, this is my first time debating, so anyone can join. It's fun, it's free. You express yourself emotionally, physically, in all those types of emotions I can explain.
It is hoped that with such debates, learners will have an understanding of the work and operations of the National Assembly, the role of the Member of Parliament, and operations of the constituency officers.
Thank you so much for still being with us on Parliament Television. The House is still on the 20 minutes healthy break, and at the time business was suspended. The House had resolved into Committee of Supply to consider supplementary estimates number 1 of 2023. Let's quickly look at what else has been considered on the floor of the House when business resumed at 14:30.
We did have a ruling on a point of order raised on Friday, 7th July 2023 by Mr. M. Mutelo, Member of Parliament for Mitete constituency, against Mr. M. Kafuaya, Member of Parliament for Lunte constituency, on whether he was in order to state that the Minister of Finance and National Planning had violated the Constitution by not producing a financial report as required by law, when the previous government had equally not submitted the said report since the enactment of the Constitution in 2016.
The other ruling that Madam Speaker made was on a point of order raised on 6th July 2023 by Mr. R.K.H. Totela, Member of Parliament for Pambashe constituency, against Mr. M. Anakoka, Member of Parliament for Luena constituency, for allegedly misleading the House by stating that the National Prosecution Authority Act number 34 of 2010 was enacted in pursuant to the Constitution of Zambia, Amendment Act number 2 of 2016.
We did see the acting leader of government business, Honorable Lufuma, move a motion that Standing Order 27 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021, be suspended to enable the House to complete all business on the order paper for Friday, 28th July 2023, and all matters arising therefrom, and that on such completion the House do adjourn. Seen dear.
A bit of information regarding Standing Order 27 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Order 21, and this is the standing order to do with automatic adjournment. We all know that Wednesday and Fridays the House adjourn at 19:15 and 13 hours respectively, and on Tuesday and Thursday the House do adjourn at 18:45. So the standing orders have been suspended to enable the House tomorrow to consider business, if there will be any business, to go beyond the adjournment time.
The House considered 2 questions for oral answer under Standing Order number 74, and still to come, we do expect the chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee, Mr. Mwambazi, to move a motion, or rather urging the House to adopt the reports of the Public Accounts Committee on the report of the Auditor General on the audit of the government payroll for the financial years ended 31st December 2017 to 2021. Just now we take you to the chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, sorry.
Committee.
Urging the House to adopt the report of the Public Accounts Committee on the report of the Auditor General on the audit of the government payroll for the financial years ended 31st December 2017 to 2021 for the second session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 26th July 2023. And the mover is Sawarin Mwambazi, who is Bwana Mkubwa, Member of Parliament and Chairperson of the Parliamentary Accounts Committee.
And so we await for the resumption of debate. 1/3 of members of parliament need to be present in the House in order for business to be transacted, as the House has now resolved into Committee of Supply, a motion that was moved by the Minister of Finance and National Planning. Do stay tuned right here as we continue to bring Parliament closer to you.
Order. When business was suspended, the House had just resolved into Committee of Supply to consider the supplementary estimate of expenditure number 1 of 2023. The committee will now proceed with its work. Head 01, State House, head total 5 million. Any debate? Any objection? Head 01 State House, head total 5 million. Agreed to. I put the question. The question is that head 01 State House, head total 5 million stands part of the estimate. As many are of that opinion, say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, say no. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Head 01, State House, head total 5 million is ordered to stand as part of the estimate. Head 02, Office of the Vice President, head total 62 million. Any debate? Any objection? Head 02, Office of the Vice President, head total 62 million is agreed to. I put a question. The question is that head 02, Office of the Vice President, head total 62 million stands part of the estimate. As many are of that opinion, say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, say no. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Head 02, Office of the Vice President, head total 62 million is ordered to stand as part of the estimate. Honorable members, I've got an announcement to make. By practice, the House does not debate itself. However, since it's merely a practice, it can be varied or indeed done away with under exceptional circumstances. Therefore, accordance with Article 89, subsection 2 of the Constitution of Zambia and Standing Orders 392 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021, Head 03, National Assembly, will be subjected to debate, and members of the public and the media will be excluded for the time being. This is because the matters to do with refer to the welfare of members of Parliament. In this regard, I direct members of the public and the media to leave the House. I further direct that broadcasting of the proceedings on Parliament, radio, television, and social media be suspended during the debate of Head 3. I thank you.
DSTV Premium. Nora is back as life in the Big Apple continues to surprise her and her outrageous family and friends.
I have an idea.
You do? Two families battle for the coveted camp trophy in this hilarious family-friendly movie.
That was fun.
That was something.
And F1 hits the tarmac as Red Bull continues their push for dominance.
Absolutely epic!
It's your moment to be entertained by staying connected to DSTV Premium.
Not doing anything.
Football and the nest.
Yeah.
And I'll forever love you.
I'm pregnant.
Get it.
Vascauti vachisa.
Kuchashina ndo poli padiste.
Tapachi veshina lyo emozo.
Jamme fukumivomera komanda. Mbora na yena tatamuna kapo future yonza komanda.
Big njera po. Chipondo.
Dominia kasewo.
Football lives on GoTV.
Works the space well.
Nobody but GoTV gives you all games of La Liga and Serie A.
And he scores. And it's into the net again.
The Premier League.
He has nailed.
Bola Yapazet. And UEFA games that matter. Get a Go Coder, Go Tenor, plus 1 month of GoTV Super for only 499 kwacha to enjoy the football madness. GoTV. Love it.
Her Honor, the Vice President's question time.
Questions for oral answer understanding order number 76.
For a matter to be admitted, it has to be of recent occurrence.
Continue watching Parliament TV, a channel dedicated to bring Parliament closer to you. On Oyo constituency, we profile one of the most prominent constituencies in the country, Munali constituency, located in Lusaka province, covering the northeastern section of Lusaka. It is approximately 6 kilometers from the capital central business district. Munali was delimitated into a constituency in 1964, and since then the population of the constituency has grown to over 170,000. The constituency houses the highest learning institution in the country, that's the University of Zambia. Munali has a teaching hospital named after 3rd Republican President Dr. Levi Patrick Manawasa, and the only college that offers psychiatric courses, and this is the Chainama College of Health Sciences. Munali constituency also houses various shopping malls. The constituency has had a total of 8 members of parliament. These include Mr. Mainza Chona, who served in 1973, Mr. Rupia Banda, who served from 1978 to 1983,
Mr. Simeon Kampata from 1983 to 1988, Mr. Ronald Penza from 1991 to 1996, Ms. Edith Nawakwi from 1996 to 2006, Ms. Mumbi Piri from 2006 to 2011, Professor Nkandluo from 2011 to 2021, and the current Member of Parliament for Munali constituency, His Honorable Mike Mposha. This is the Munali constituency office situated off the Great East Road. The office facilitates the smooth coordination of the constituency activities. The office gives an opportunity for the people of Munali to interact with their Member of Parliament on issues affecting them.
I'm calling upon them to work with me and also to utilize the constituency office, which is allocated in Chainama, which is rather located in Chainama area around the Stadiro, just opposite the Stadiro shopping complex. Let them utilize the constituency office. Go in there. I have my professional assistant there and my team there. Even when I'm here at the ministerial office, the office is open and for them to engage me. And I'm locally based in the constituency, so they must feel free to either contact me directly on the many challenges or also utilize the office which the National Assembly has provided for us. And we must thank our institution, the National Assembly, for ensuring that like in the past, when members of parliament had to be followed to the chambers, now we have offices and we have the members of staff who are doing a great job to ensure that there's continuous interaction between the electorates and us, the elected representatives of the people.
Munali Member of Parliament, Mr. Mike Mposha, now highlights the challenges the constituency is currently facing.
For a long time, this constituency, if for lack of a better way, didn't have so much attention in terms of attending to these challenges. So we have, for example, schools, a number of schools, like I said, but with the very limited school places, and this also contributed to a number of our youths, being found to be dropouts because they could not find spaces in these schools. And now with the newly introduced free education policy under the New Dawn government, our New Dawn government, we have a lot of pressure in trying to get school places for the people around Munali constituency and those coming from slightly outside the Munali constituency. Another problem is the poor road network. You may wish to know also that quite a number of settlements in Munali constituency were unplanned settlements. We have great talent in Munali constituency, but I must say that the sports infrastructure is extremely dilapidated. It's non-existent. So that is another challenge. We also have the high levels of unemployment among the youths, most of whom have turned into bad vices of abusing alcohol, abusing drugs. You've heard this term of gangs like fluffies, junkies, because of one, high levels of unemployment, but also peer pressure, where people just go out there and begin to indulge themselves in illicit drugs, abuse alcohol. The issue of also clean and safe water in the constituency is still a huge challenge. Quite a significant number of our electorates, our residents in Munali constituency, have no access to clean water. This is another challenge, and also land for future developments. For example, the population is still growing, and we need to build more schools. We need to expand on learning facilities, health facilities. but in Munali constituency we've exhausted the land for such expansions. So these and many more are challenges that affect our people in Munali constituency.
The Member of Parliament is determined to change the lives of the people of Munali for the better.
We are already planning. I think this year alone we want to concentrate on ensuring that we support fully the free education policy by ensuring that one, most of the schools are assisted with ensuring that we expand the capacity, the infrastructure capacity, so that we can accommodate more pupils in the schools. And with the increased Constituency Development Fund allocation from 1.6 million starting from this year to 25.7 million kwacha per year per constituency, our focus there will be to support the free education policy by ensuring that most of the schools are assisted. We also want to concentrate much on connectivity, road connectivity in the constituency. So we want to pump in a lot of resources, the CDF resources, in ensuring that we work on the roads. By the time my term of office will be finishing in 2026, I want to see to it that each and every ward we've worked and improved on the recreation facilities, on the road network. We also want to work on the problem of unemployment, which I alluded to earlier, through CDF. When we say we're going to procure desks, we want to identify cooperatives, we want to identify young people who are in the business of carpentry and also welding, who can work on, who can manufacture, the desks and supply to these schools, so that the money which the government is giving us, allocating to the constituency, can evolve around job creation in the constituency. We also want to ensure that we provide piped water to the areas where they have no water. And we want also to deal with the issues of sanitation. We need to migrate a lot of people who are using pit latrines to migrate to flushable toilets, particularly in Mtendere East.
Honorable Mposha assures the people of Munali of better things to come.
I want to assure them that under my leadership there will be accountability. I want to ensure that all resources attached to Munali constituency, there will be accountability, and they can count on me that there will be no pen. There will be no pen which will go unaccounted for. I want to appeal to the people of Munali constituency again that let's work together in planning, in executing these plans. They'll be seeing more of me going out through the churches to speak to the many issues we are planning in the constituency, and I want their input, because everything I'm trying to resolve in Munali constituency is meant to help our people in all the 6 wards.
Mr. Joe Kaluba, who is the professional assistant at Munali constituency office, now talks about his role.
My role as a professional assistant for Munali constituency is, the first one is we are front line for the member of staff. For the member of parliament rather. So we are front line. So my role includes one, representing the member of parliament when the member of parliament is not there. Then running the office on behalf of the Honorable Member of Parliament. My other role includes coordinating activities for the Member of Parliament, meaning that I have to have on my fingertips all the stakeholders that we have in the constituency and those that we are working with in the constituency. So I just to add on that, I have to make sure that they are up to date with the information about the Member of Parliament. If the Member of Parliament is needed for a meeting somewhere, I have to make sure I go as an advanced party to make sure that everything is in place, also to coordinate the time that is coming, the time that is going. When the Member of Parliament is in the constituency, I have to accompany the Member of Parliament wherever he goes, so that I take notes of what is happening, because at the end of the day, I have to follow up the things that people maybe want, or maybe the activities that are needed to be followed up. My other role is also to supervise the staff at the office, and to make sure that we are in line with the Code of Conduct of National Assembly, and of course promoting and encouraging people to visit this office. This is a non-partisan office, so if you have looked at the history of Mnali, a number of political parties have, the UNIP was there here, and also MMD, FDD, PF, and now we have the United Party for National Development. Honorable Mposha is representing that party. So this office is a non-partisan. National Assembly in its own is a non-partisan. So when you enter National Assembly and this office, you don't put on the party regalia. That is number one. And this, as an office also, I forgot to add this, we also give guidance to members of parliament in all the offices, in constituency offices, to give guidance that no party regalia in the office. So anyone can come, they can come at any time as long as it is working hours.
Since the introduction of constituency offices across the country, the officers have acted as a bridge between constituents and members of parliament. Therefore, members of parliament have a constitutional duty to interact with the public and assist the public with access to basic services.
There were 59,439 registered cashew nut farmers in Western Province.
The situation as it is, I'm incapacitated.
The good people of Petauke, especially Minika 1, where we don't have water.
This is now a serious risk on the people with Testezi. Last week we registered one maternal death.
Within the CDF, we can build palaces for all chiefs in our country.
Minister, when are we going to have money? When are we going to construct hospitals?
Catch us live on DSTV channel 272, OTV channel 28, Topstar channel 5, or visit the National Assembly of Zambia Facebook page. Parliament Television, bringing Parliament closer to you.